So thank you all for coming to tonight's NEWRA meeting. You are at the NEWRA meeting, in case you're wondering what meeting is it. The NEWRA meeting tonight is on a beautiful day. It's nice to see that the days are getting a little longer and they're getting a little warmer. Let's hope we keep it that way over the weekend. I want to remind everyone that we are being taped or videoed or whatever the current colloquial term is by Netcom. You'll be able to see this all relitigated, yes, continuously on North End Waterfront.com. I wanted to let everyone know that we have a relatively short agenda tonight. We have two voting meetings. We have two voting items, and we're going to be joined by Sal Lamatina, who's been kind enough to spend some time with us and even answer some questions from the neighborhood. So we're going to get into that soon. But first, we have sort of an elongated section of reports. We're going to do it in this order. I'm going to in the President's report, I want to give everyone a sense of what happened on the urban renewal front, because there was a city council vote. There's some interesting stuff still happening, and it's important that everyone know about that. We have a public safety report, which is going to go next, and then we'll go down the line. And then I'm going to ask for some remembrances of a former NEWRA person, David Kubiak, who was kind enough to do for us. Without further ado, the first thing I'm going to do, though, is ask if there are city officials in the audience who may want to introduce themselves and may want to have may have some city announcements.
Kathy Crangel from Council Matina's office. Maria Leanza from the mayor's office is unable to be here tonight due to a meeting conflict. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Council Matina because he will be here to speak on his own. Couple of announcements. She wanted to remind everybody that Boston Chimes is May 7th, Saturday, 9 o'clock meet at the Corrado. And she also wants to remind everybody that tomorrow is one day in Boston. So visit the website if you have any nice stories, good stories, happy stories. Please report it there. Thank you.
Fantastic. Are there any other city officials? Hello.
Hi. Boston Inspectional Services. I'm Will. I'm Assistant Commissioner of Boston Inspectional Services Housing Division.
Fantastic. Welcome to our meeting. Great. Yes. Are there any things that you want to say?
Yeah, actually, I'm just one of my.
All right. Well, we'll call on you again at the end of the reports. How about that? And then you can say some words. Good day. Good day. Well, I'm going to make some announcements at the end of my President's report. So for any of you expecting some announcements, don't worry. But I did want to highlight that one of the things that we've been talking about a lot in this meeting is the City Council's deliberation on the VRA request to extend urban renewal for another 10 years. There was quite an effort put up by the neighborhood associations and other associations, primarily Dudley Square civic organizations, we unified. We made our points to the City Council and to others, there was more of a discussion than there usually is with matters concerning the VRA at the City Council. That's the good news. The disappointing news is that there was a renewal extension voted for, not for 10 years, but for 6 years. It was voted 10-3. The three nay votes were Zaka, Presley, and Jackson, those three councilors. So I wanted to let everyone know who voted no and everyone else voted yes. Michelle Wu originally was a no vote, but she, as City Council President, worked very hard to try to broker a compromise, quote-unquote, deal. And in this compromise, there are allusions in the resolution to continuing Boston City Council oversight of the VRA, Now, we'll see what happens. There, unfortunately, really aren't the teeth, the sort of force of law kind of measures that you'd like to see hanging over the BRA, the threat that if they don't perform, perhaps part of this extension will be rescinded, which is really what we were looking for. Not, again, I want to stress this, not because we hate the BRA, but because we think the BRA is an organization, like so many in so many governments, which has been shy of oversight, reporting to no one, with no incentive to actually stay on mission and do what it's supposed to do. I thought that in my journey going to talk to various people, I was surprised that, first of all, I was surprised at the open-mindedness of the mayor and Brian Golden to commission two studies by McKinsey, the top flight management consulting firm, someone I competed with vigorously when I was in the management consulting field, and also KPMG, an accounting firm, also top flight. The mayor and Brian Golden commissioned studies. Both studies, when completed, really did not make the BRA look good. It basically said this is an organization that's sort of sick. It underperforms all the other planning organizations in the other cities in the U.S. It has structural problems. It has vision problems. It has mission problems. It hasn't done an urban plan in years, and we got to fix it. What I've been trying to make sure happens is that the BRA actually gets fixed. I was disappointed when, just after this vote was taken, there was an article in the Globe that, fortunately some of the Globe reporters, like Tim Logan, have decided to follow this. They traditionally don't follow BRA things, but it highlighted how the BRA wants to hire a high-level PR spin master because they feel that people don't understand them, and that's why they're not loved. And if you just hire the right PR guy, you really, that's what you have to, that's the priority as opposed to real reform. So you can understand the disappointment with all of us, but I think we've made some progress. The good news is the details have to be worked out still on the oversight. There are a number of neighborhood leaders, including myself, who will be meeting with City Council President Michelle Wu tomorrow to discuss how this might work. Coming out of that meeting, I'll have a much better sense as to whether I think that there are really going to be some opportunities for oversight. What Michelle Wu has told me in previous meetings is that even if you don't have the force of law, the public eye, keeping light on what's happening, having everyone know what's happening, and having groups like us voting and saying, hey, no, that's not cool what you're doing. Pushing back if we think projects are not in the interest of the community. All that is very important, and we think, if we can't have the force of law on our side to mandate them to make certain deadlines, we can sort of guilt them into it if we keep doing what we're doing. So I wanted to thank everyone for writing your letters, writing your emails. We still have an opportunity to write emails because the City Council was one vote, and the next one is the Department of Housing and Community Development, which is a state organization. The DHCD vote is mainly going to be procedural, like if the resolution, if the urban renewal plans that the PRA wants to extend are in order. It is very difficult for DHCD not to agree to the extension. However, we're still writing them letters, and you can access these letters that you can write and the people to write to on the NEWRA website, www.newra.org. But thank you, because I know many of you have already done that, and it made a real difference. I mean, there are a lot of people that said there's not going to be anything but a 10-year extension, and we got 40% of it shaved off, which is pretty good. Yes?
Can you please repeat the three who voted against it?
The three who voted against it were District Councilor Josh Zakum from Back Bay and Beacon Hill, District Councilor Tito Jackson from the Jackson Square, Roxbury area, and also at-large Councilor Ayanna President.
Thank you.
And we salute them. they put a lot of pressure, and Michelle will put a lot of pressure, and there are other people that were hedging their bets, but we had a discussion, and that's pretty good. There's also going to be, by the way, a DHCD hearing that I want everyone to know about. It's going to be on Friday, not tomorrow, but the following Friday, April 22nd. Conveniently timed for those of you who have jobs at 10 a.m. in the morning, but 10 to 12. It's going to just be an opportunity for them to take testimony and for people to talk. I would suggest, if you're planning to go to that hearing, to really stay on point about why the urban renewal plan does not conform, why it shouldn't be extended because the plan is, doesn't conform to what it's supposed to do, as opposed to the underperformance of the BRA. Victor and I and others had a meeting with the chief counsel of the Department of Housing and Community Development, who told us that they're going to make the decision on a procedural basis. And she basically said, and she said, it's not her decision to do it this way, but that's just the lot that they draw. Said their role is essentially to make sure that everything conforms to statute. It's the locality's job, in other words, the city council, to make sure that oversight happens. So essentially, we presented some scenarios, and what we learned is, if the plan has a defect in it, they'll act. If it's proven that the BRA has a great plan, but has had terrible execution or no execution, it's not their problem. All they're interested in is what the quality of the plan. So anyhow, DHCD though is Friday, 4/22, 10 to 12 at 100 Cambridge Street, and that information will also be posted on our website. I will point out there is a more radical group of BRA foes, and many of us know who those people are in this room, and I'm not going to talk too much about them, but I will say that you will hear about efforts to try to derail this extension through odd sorts of legal action, procedural actions, etc. I just wanted to let everyone know that NEWRA and the organization that we belong to, the Alliance of Downtown Civic Organizations, neither organization is currently entertaining to be any part of that action. And we've discussed what the folks who are trying to derail the extension legally are trying to do, and we don't really think they have much of a chance to succeed, but we believe that that's going to happen. You're going to hear about that. Our preferred strategy right now is to work with Council President Wu, who has shown a lot of interest in reaching out to the community, getting people to help her figure out how we should have oversight of the BRA. And implement as much as we can. And it may be small to begin with, but maybe if we keep on, it'll get larger. So that's what we will try to do. And I will be able to report to you next month. I'll have a much better idea after having met with Councilor Wu and perhaps having tried to get some of those oversight mechanisms in place. One other thing, so I'm going to change subjects from the BRA, and I'm going to talk about Boston data. I don't know if many of you go onto our website and have taken a look at our maps. One of our favorite maps is the crime map, which David is going to refer to, I'm sure. But for reasons that have to do with staff changes, personnel turnover, Boston in 2014 under Mayor Walsh had this great vision. We're going to have open data. We're going to have data sources for liquor license and all. It's all going to be made public. Problem is, when I started to do a look at trying to figure out how come the data doesn't look so good, it turns out that much of the data stopped getting updated around August of last year. So liquor licenses have been dead in the water, the list of liquor licenses since last year. Now, of course, you guys have heard me talk about some of the stuff that's been going on in liquor licensing as of late, and it doesn't surprise me that we don't have access to good data. But I did get in touch with a couple of people on the city council about this, and I have now commitments, let's see if they're executed, from the IT department and City Hall to restore the data connections within 2 weeks. So the crime database should be fixed. Right now, if you go to the crime database, it'll show no crimes in the North End. We know, and we will hear that's wrong. And it shows liquor licenses from last summer. When you see the actual liquor licenses and the concentration of all alcohol licenses, et cetera, you'll see the difference. I just wanted to let you know that, and in the meantime, we'll have to take David's word on crime reports, which we do all the time. The Good Neighbor Award, I haven't mentioned it in my last couple of reports. I did want to very quickly say Lorraine Lacola was the most recent recipient of the award. You see in the regional review picture, I think this last, or will be in the next one. And I want to do a shout out to recent winners, David and Cynthia Mall, winners for December. I'm not sure if I acknowledged them at the meeting. Most recently, the Paul Revere House has been awarded this. We're still trying to figure out exactly who is going to be in the picture. But I just wanted to say that what we do in the Good Neighbor Award is anyone who really is in a neighborhood where it's, sort of like, there may be things that are unkempt if you didn't have good neighbors like these that extend themselves and start sweeping the streets and making the neighborhood look a little beautiful. It's a beautification award, and we're trying to make sure that we really validate those people and honor those people who make our neighborhood look a little nicer. And so you too can win the Good Neighbor Award if you get a broom and start sweeping, etc. And I'm sure Boston Shines on May 7th will be a great opportunity to be a good neighbor in a big way. So that's almost the end of my report. I did promise some announcements. I do want to mention there, number one, we had a special election primary, and we have I guess a nominee. I mean, does the Democratic Committee person, Jason, want to?
Yeah, so Joe Boncory from Winthrop became the Democratic nominee, but he'll be the de facto senator because he's Republican. No other party has a nominee. Right. So he will run
he's
unopposed.
de facto.
Yeah.
We'll have an election.
Write-ins, but I don't.
And election day is?
May
12, 10, 12.
Yeah, well, on the
12.
One of
There'll
the
be
first and second Tuesday.
a ballot with like one name on it. That's
Yeah, so Joe is from Winthrop.
okay.
And he topped the ticket in the 4 precincts in the North that went by 130 votes.
Right. Thank you. So I wanted to let everyone know that. So it was funny because I think coming to the primary, if you pulled the ballots, I think the Republican ballot had nothing on it. It wasn't sure, yeah, so it made the choice a little easier for those people who are on our roll. I wanted to also mention an upcoming community election, which is the NEWRA, the North End Waterfront Neighborhood Council, is having an election on May 14th. And we have a couple of people, or at least one person, who is running, but I want to ask anyone who's running for that to just identify themselves and say why you want their votes. Okay. Do you want to say? Do you want to say something? Since you came, you get to speak.
I've lived here all my life. I've been on the neighborhood, the Waterfront Council for over 15 years, and I like to try to find two points. And I don't know what my number is on the ballot, but it's May 14th, it's from 10 to 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of these faces. Okay, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Do we have any other folks who are running for the the council here tonight? I think Fran Rowley would show up. One person who I have been told is not running, who has been on the council for a long time, is 20 years, Anna Devlin Taliafarro. And I just wanted to, I don't know if Ann is here, probably not, but I just wanted to say I've known Ann probably longer than most people I've known in the North End, because she has been a mover and shaker in the Friends of Christopher Columbus Park, which is one of the first organizations I volunteered for. And I wanted to say that Ann has just done a tremendous amount for the neighborhood. And it'll be sort of weird for her not to run, and for her then obviously not to be on the neighborhood council, because it's always like an assumed, of course, Ann's going to be there. So we wish Ann well for the next things that she wants to do, how she fills her time. She will have many things to fill her time for. So ZLC meeting is on April 28th. The Parks and Open Spaces meeting, our next one, NEWRA Parks and Open Spaces.
26th.
The 26th? I'm sorry, 26th. Parks and Open Spaces is May 3rd. Got that one right. And the Public Safety meeting is May 5th?
Yes, first
Okay, great. And of course, there's also Boston Shines on May 7th, and the DHCD conveniently scheduled 10 a.m. Hearing on April 22nd. So, with that, my president's report is complete. I want to have public safety be the next report. So, Mr. Marks.
Good evening, everyone. This is a robust report. Very nice. So the most recent North End Waterfront Public Safety meeting was held this past Thursday evening in this room. And as I said at the last NEWRA meeting when I gave my public safety report, the statistics are still pretty similar to last month. Part 1 crime, assaults and batteries, robberies, larcenies, those types of crimes, is up 2% citywide. And in District A1, which includes the North End and various other downtown neighborhoods, it's up by 1%. Within the last 30 days or so, we had 1 robbery, 1 aggravated assault, 1 residential break-in. We also had 7 larcenies, and 1 larceny from a motor vehicle as well, so there are 2 separate categories, larcenies and larcenies from motor vehicles. And we had 9 arrests, 2 for assault and battery / disorderly conduct, 1 for vandalism, 1 for assault and battery, 1 for breaking and entering, as well as possession of Class D drugs, 2 for robbery, and 2 for drugs overall. I'll just give you a couple of details about some of the crimes. The robbery happened late Friday night, early Saturday morning on March 19th at approximately 2:30 in the morning at Bova's Bakery. An argument resulted in 2 white males that were armed with a knife grabbing the victim's neck chain and it took off. Police located the suspects and brought them back to Bova's Bakery, where the victim made a positive ID of the suspects. The victim's neck chain was recovered from Bova's the very following day. 2 suspects arrested, a North End male, age 23, and a Waltham End male, age 28. Aggravated assault took place at around 4:15 in the morning on March 16th at 35 Cooper Street. The victim chased a homeless guy that took clothes from the hallway in the gentleman's girlfriend's apartment building. The guy pulled a knife on the victim, and the gentleman did return some of the clothes, but the cops were unable to locate the suspect. There was the 1 residential breaking and entering that I mentioned took place at 5 Baldwin Place. A 29-year-old male from Weston, W-E-S-T-O-N, Weston, Massachusetts, with no shoes on, tried to get into an apartment on the 1st floor, and then proceeded to try to gain entry to an apartment on the next floor, and so forth. The suspect was ID'd and was arrested for breaking and entering, as well as possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, and he had $331 in cash that was on him, seized. 7 larcenies. We've been seeing these types of larcenies somewhat consistently all around the city, not just in the North End. FedEx packages, that type of thing. On Fulton Street, Easter chocolate packages, FedEx package that had a toaster on Sheep Street, a shower curtain, et cetera, was taken from a common area closet in the basement at Hull Street. At a post office, a victim left her purse. When she realized it was gone, she went back, it was actually gone. And a package with a vacuum cleaner, Amazon.com packages. I've said it before, I hate to be a broken record. If at all possible, please try to make arrangements to either have someone you know or a business, even if you have to pay a small fee, to sign for your package. I would like to think that at least some, maybe not all, but at least some of these types of package thefts can somewhat easily be prevented. And not just during Christmas season, of course. And also, Sergeant Jameson Yee joined us at the very tail end of our public safety meeting. He is from the Suffolk University Police Department. He is now riding along in the late night party car, which I'll talk about in a second, on Thursday nights through Saturday nights. And he can be reached at 617-519-8986. Now, the last thing I'll say is,
This party car is not a car that actually has a party.
that's actually the details of which I really haven't
That's
gotten into in a while.
Depending on your answer,
Exactly.
I don't know whether or not to call.
So basically, in a nutshell, the late night party car is a roving police patrol that goes throughout the North End. It checks on problem properties that are known to police for noise-related complaints due to loud parties, etc., and also responds to real-time complaints of the same nature. EPD and Suffolk University Police jointly conduct that type of patrol. And like I said, the patrol runs every Thursday night through Saturday night from 11:45 p.m. until 3:45 a.m., but while school is in session. As always, the first public safety meeting is the first Thursday of the month in this room at 6 o'clock. As Ford accurately mentioned moments ago. The next one is Thursday, May 5th. Did you have the?
Yeah, what was that number again?
Sure. It is 617. I believe it is 519. 8986. 519-8986.
And the name of the person again?
Sergeant Jameson Yee. Sergeant.
Well, we can list that on the website too. I mean, I'll get the information from you. There is a sort of names and numbers section on the NEWRA website that has all sorts of great numbers you can call, like, you know, cruise ships are out of control, you can call the harbor master, and their numbers there, all the numbers you want to know.
And my public safety report, basically a little more than what I just basically recited to you, is always posted now these days on northendwaterfront.com. Usually no late. I usually submit it a few days after the meeting, usually by Sunday, and it goes up pretty quickly. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. And for the membership team, led by Mary, for a membership report, we have.
I'll just be very quick because it's going to be a little behind. But we have a number of people who are attending their first meeting as members tonight. I'd like to welcome you. And we had a raft of new people tonight as well, as you may have noticed. And the second part of that is that I'm not sure I checked in all the members. So if you are a member and you didn't check in, just check with me at some point because that's how we keep track of our voting. So again, welcome to everyone tonight.
Great, thank you.
Would you mind reiterating your voting policy?
Sure, I'll ask Victor to do that. Well, or Mary,
The
membership.
voting policy is to be able to vote at a meeting, you have to have attended one meeting in the past 6 months. To vote in an election, it has to be 2 meetings in the past 6 months. So, but the thing that people need to keep in mind is that if you join at a meeting that you're not a member of that meeting, so the next meeting you attend will be your first membership meeting, because we don't have any way of getting people on the rolls at a meeting. We just take your application, get you on the list, and your next meeting you come to, you will be a member, you'll be checked in, that's your first membership meeting, and then the next meeting after that, you'll be eligible to vote. Any questions about that? Okay, thanks. And if anybody does have any other questions, check it in.
What you said, one was this that we just heard. The next one is 7466 Salem Street. The third one is not on the agenda for a reason. It was 415 Hanover Street, the Lucia Restaurant that had been started by Filippo 30 years ago, and then taken over by Donato, and Donato is now giving it back to his brother. The reason that you are not being asked to vote is this, and the license, it's a license transfer that's involved, is because the licensing board heard it yesterday, and a vote then would be of no effect. I don't know what the outcome was. I suspect that it was probably approved, but it didn't seem to us to make any sense to vote on something that had already been acted on by the city department involved. The CLC meeting to come is on April 26th, And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 items on that, which will be on that agenda. The first is 5961 Endicott Street, on the corner of Endicott and Cross Street, for a sign that the owner wants to put on the side of the building facing Cross Street. The sign saying apartments and offices for rent. That requires zoning because it's prohibited in that location. Oh, you can't hear me? I thought I was yelling. Okay, I will speak up more loudly. That was 59 to 61 Endicott Street, corner of Cross Street, where the owner wants to put a sign advertising apartments and offices for rent in that building. Right at the corner, where the Push Cart restaurant was 50 years ago. You remember that? So do I. Next is 5 Jackson Avenue, where the owner, I believe, if I recall correctly, I'm sorry I didn't make notes of it, wants to convert a 2-family house to one family, but add, I think, a story and a roof deck. But whatever it is, it will be on the agenda for April 26th, and I'll have more details for you. The next one is 3 Stillman Place. That was a building that there was a serious fire several months ago, and it was purchased by Chris Young, and he wants to extend the building into the rear area, which is open now, and extend it to the lot line, and bring that extension up to 4 stories, and that will be 3 Stillman Place. And the final one, which will probably be on the agenda, is 130 to 130B Salem Street, Monica's Mercato, yes. Because the entrance to the new pizza shop is on the adjacent street, which is Noyes Place. And NEWRA voted in January of last year to approve a takeout so that they could take out the pizzas that they were cooking. It appears that a restaurant use is also necessary, presumably because it's a new area that is being used. It's not a retail area now, so the takeout can't attach to the grocery store because the grocery store is not in the basement on Noyes Place. That at least is my guess. Anyway, the ISD issued a refusal letter, and we're going to ask Monica to come to the CLC meeting on the 26th and to give notice to abutters. There is an abutter, I should note, across Noyes Place, which is a very narrow street, who has an issue with the sign that Monica has painted on the wall directly across from his unit, and also for the people who are eating pizza on his doorstep. So that will be perhaps some controversy, and that'll be on the agenda for the 26th. One final thing, I want to correct something that I said last month, so that I won't be held to give incorrect information. Last month I said that NEWRA had only opposed one item, had voted to oppose one item in the last year. I didn't read my records correctly. There were 3. One was 92 to 96 Salem Street, Nick Damore, who wanted to build also around the corner, and there were issues with abutters. The second one was 3 to 5 Quincy Court, issues with abutters, and the third one was 536 Commercial Street, where the owner wanted to enlarge his roof deck, or her roof deck, and the adjacent building had some issues with it, and we were voted to oppose. So 3 oppositions in the last year, the rest were supports. End of CLC report, unless anyone has a question.